Hi, this is Sarah Brown, and I'll be interviewing Mike Bridge. Please, Mr. Bridge, introduce yourself, your teaching position, education, teaching career, and other background information relative to your teaching.
Well, my name is Mike Bridge, fourth grade teacher at Riverview Charter School. I'm also athletic director here at the school. I went to East Carolina University for my undergrad. This is my ninth year teaching, and just happy to be teaching at a great charter school in the Low Country of South Carolina.
Have you always wanted to be a social studies teacher, and do you enjoy it?
I'm not really sure that I've always wanted to be a social studies teacher, but I really enjoy social studies. It's very interesting. I love history. I love getting the kids involved and show them how they're a part of history and how what they do can help shape the United States.
What type of social studies specific literacies do you use in your classroom?
I use a lot of current events, articles, passages about a particular topic. I use a lot of maps. As you can see throughout my room, there's maps hung up everywhere. I like to use primary documents, and just yesterday we actually pulled up the Declaration of Independence, and we actually analyzed it and studied it and looked through some of the words to see if it all made sense to them. So I like showing them things that are relevant to the time period and things that they can make connections to.
That's awesome. What are the different types of readings and texts do you have the students read during your social studies class?
Again, we use a lot of primary resources. We use social studies, U.S. Studies weeklies, magazines, Time for Kids. I have a lot of historical fiction novels in the classroom, biographies, and other nonfiction texts that relate to the topic that we're studying. And I usually try to make sure everything is on their level so that they understand it.
What kind of instructional strategies do you use to get the students to read a text as a historian would?
One of the things I like to do is when we're reading together, if students come to a word that they don't understand, we usually try to discuss it as a class, and it gives me a chance to have these like teachable moments just to see how we can break down that word. One of the things I really like doing is I like to use different voices. I like to kind of get into the role playing and kind of talk how one of those historians would. So it kind of gets the kids more involved and engaged instead of me just standing up there lecturing.
Awesome. How do students read these different types of texts?
There's a lot of different strategies I use in the classroom. We do popcorn reading. We like to read to self, read with a partner, or in a group. I like to use some of the strategies from the Daily Five and use those into my classroom whenever the students are reading different topics.
What type of writings do your students do in social studies?
We do a lot of different writings in here. Specifically, like for our Explorers unit, we always write postcards. You put yourself in the position of an explorer and you write a postcard home about what you're seeing there. We send like friendly letters where you're acting as a certain historian, or we like to use a constructed response strategy where I ask them a question and then they have to respond to the writing by answering the question and giving ideas. I also like to make a lot of mind maps in here that kind of shows their understanding. They don't necessarily have to write in depth, but they get to like draw pictures and show their understanding that way. And comic strips are a lot of fun. It's a fun thing that the students like to do.
What tools and materials do you utilize in your classroom for your students to use?
Well, being that we're in the 21st century, technology is everywhere. So I'd like to use the computers, the iPads. We watch a lot of movies on Discovery Education, just different ways instead of me, again, lecturing, that they can use technology, they can show their understanding, they can create PowerPoint presentations and do just projects like that.
Awesome. How do you get your students to think like a historian would?
I storytell. I like to put myself in the shoes of whoever or whatever the topic I'm talking about, and we do a lot of role playing. I think this gets them actively engaged in it and just kind of shows them a different perspective rather than me just saying this happened when this person did this. I actually act like those people.
How do you meet the needs of your diverse students or students with different learning abilities in your class?
First thing I do is pull small groups, and just kind of pull kids as needed. If they're struggling with a topic, I can sit down and explain it to them on their terms in different words. I give tests that are on their level, so I differentiate for some students what topic I'm either taking questions off for certain students or taking away answer choices depending on if they have an IEP or not. And I lighten their workload. For some students, this is too much work for them, so I like to kind of lighten that just a little bit so they're not stressing out.
And what is the most essential information or main idea do you want students to take away from your social studies class?
I want students to gain a respect for the world around them. I want them to realize the important role history has played and how it has shaped today's world. They can have an impact on our society, but it's up to them the role that they will play in shaping that. One of the biggest things I want them to take away is to have fun. History is great, and there's some really great things that they can learn from it.
So, how do you get your students involved in social studies?
I want them to make connections. Make connections to the world around them, make connections to what we're talking about. A lot of the topics we're talking about, the kids can relate to because they've either learned it in previous games, and that gets them excited about being able to share some of the things they know or wanting to just kind of dig deeper into what we're learning about.
Well, that was awesome. I learned so much. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome, Miss Brown.